Want to tell you about one of our partners, Quetzal Education Consulting. Quetzal Education Consulting is a queer, Black, and Indigenous women-owned firm offering anti-racist consulting, PD, coaching, keynotes, workshops, and more. Their newly released Abolitionist Teaching Workshop series coaches and prepares teachers to further develop abolitionist practices in the classroom. Find out why they have been called the future of educational justice by Dr. Bettina Love. You can book a free consultation with Quetzal by calling 510-397-8011 or visiting quetzalec.com. That is quetzalec.com. And if you mention you heard about them through Two Dope Teachers, you will receive a 5% discount on their Abolitionist Teaching PD series. Once again, you can book them by visiting quetzalec.com on their Connect With Us page.
All right, folks. Sorry, Kevin.
You go ahead. This is like, as will come up, this is your podcast. I want you to feel more like you drive this car. So like if we need to pull over, if we need to speed, if we need to go in reverse, like you in charge. I feel like a Hustle and Flow. You watch Hustle and Flow. It's like put your hands on the wheel. Who in charge, Asia? You in charge.
I have not seen that movie in a long time. Is that a movie?
Amen. Oh, amen.
Turn the fan down.
Amen. Yes.
Kevin, my co-host Kevin is he hyped today, and I appreciate it because I need your energy on this Sunday evening. Yes. Today's podcast host or guest, not host, guest. Can we start over, please? Hey everyone, it's Asia and Kevin. We're back. Episode number, is this 3, Kevin, for us?
I was trying to think about it, but I think it's 3. I think we're on episode 3.
So today we're having Dr. William Anderson on our podcast. He is dope. He's done some great work in Denver public schools. He's going to share his story about like what it is that had him shift from being a classroom teacher and doing some work in the social studies department in his school over to now working at the university and higher education level. Just a super dope conversation. What do you think about it, Kevin?
I think it's a really good conversation. I think it's a great contrast to some of the other stories that we have had. I will go ahead and let the listeners know, break the fourth wall. Will is a close friend of the podcast and FOP, right? So, there is lots of love shared throughout this episode. And it feels like a reunion in some ways, but also I think it's an important story of like how to cultivate Black leadership, which I think is important, but also raises some other questions when we think about the other stories that we've heard. And I think really boiling it down to, we've had a great conversation about the differences between the experiences of Black males in the classroom, Black man educators, and Black female educators, or people who identify as female. I think there's a lot to this conversation. So I think it's a great one. I think people will sit back, listen, and enjoy, tales of educational mercenaries that led to ultimate liberation, which, and here's a little spoiler alert, people. This episode pushes me a little closer to making a decision on where do I go with my
audience. Kevin says that every episode. I don't want y'all to get excited out here in these streets. Okay?
We got to keep them listening. Don't say, hey, they never know. Maybe there's a big announcement at the end.
Listen, I just want to say, if the edge, whatever that edge is, it's not nowhere. I don't know where the edge is. Everybody,
can you give a resignation letter through a podcast? No, I'm just kidding. My principal will be like, no, I don't like this. Stop talking about this. I'm going to stop this episode right now. Keep listening, principal. We love you. Shout out.
Let's roll episode 3. Let's go.
So here we are, folks. We are back. and we are here with our amazing guest today, one of the most impactful brothers in the education field. In my honest opinion, Dr. William Anderson. Dr. William Anderson, we are so happy to hear you here today on the Exit interview with us. I know Asia's excited. I'm excited every time, our producer Gerardo's excited. Every time your name comes up, we get excited because we rock with you, Hard Body Karate. So welcome to the
Body Karate.
Hard Body Karate. That's right. That's right. So welcome to the Exit interview.
Thank you.
We're excited to hear your story, knowing that all the stories, as people should know, Black people are not monolithic. And so all of our stories are not the same, right? And so we'll just jump into this. First, tell us about your educational path, your path into the classroom, what motivated you to become an educator, a Black educator. Let's hear it.
Word. Well, first and foremost, thank y'all so much for having me on. It's nice to be able to share this type of space with folks that I have just as much love for as you got for me. It's just an honor and a privilege, truly. So how did I get into education? I figured out I wanted to be a teacher when I was in I think it was the 8th grade, because I had a teacher, a social studies teacher, yes. Mr. G, and Mr. G at Laredo Middle School made me like a weird, awkward, who I thought was cool as hell, but probably wasn't, kid feel super cool and feel loved and feel appreciated.
Yes.
And made social studies like some cool stuff. So I knew, and it was weird. I remember that I could tell you the day I made the decision. It was when my mom had some friends over, and like a wonderful mom she paraded me in front of her friends and was like, "Yo, William, tell them what you want to be when you grow up," And I was like, "I want to be an accountant." And she was like, "All right, now go make yourself busy." What I'm saying?
Yes.
And
classic, right?
Classic, right? You did your thing, now get the hell out, right? Then I left, and as I was putting my shoes on in the garage, in my head I was like, I don't want to be an accountant. You know what I mean? But I said it. I knew adults thought that was a good thing to want to be. And I was like, man, really, I want to be a teacher. And so I kicked my shoes off, went back inside, and was like, "Excuse me, y'all." They were like, "Yeah, I want to make a clarification. I do not want to be an accountant. I want to be a teacher when I grow up." And they were like, "Okay, now back to getting the hell out of here." You know what I'm saying?
They're like, "All right, all right."
Sure.
Straight up. So that was it. That was when, and I knew from there that I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a social studies teacher. I wanted to be a high school social studies teacher. You know what I mean? So it was all about making that come true after that. High school was all right. I was not a great student. I think I blew everybody's socks off with my 2.7 GPA.
2.7 club. There we go. Represent.
I was holding it down with a 17 on the ACT after taking it twice.
Represent.
Represent.
Same club.
Yes. Me too.
And that got me into none of the schools that were my first choice.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
As my mom said, I graduated. Thank you, Lordy.
Straight up. Straight up. Thank you, Lordy. Ended up going to UNC up in Greeley. Had a wonderful time. I party like a rock star and did no school.
Yes. I know that well because I went to Greeley for my freshman year, and I say that intentionally because at the I got the letter at the end. My dad woke me up June 5th. What's this letter? You've been put on academic probation.
Oh yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I did not finish up there, but I can relate. I know, like I would have been, oh man, I know. See, there's a reason why I always connect with you. I always can connect with
But
you.
man, check this out. I got
Yeah.
the same letter, and I gave him one more year, one more
Yes.
semester actually, and then they wouldn't even take my money no more. You know what I'm saying?
Can I say something, William?
Yeah.
Kevin, I
Yes.
got the letter too. Man.
What's that say? What's that say?
What that don't say? Obviously, we made it out here.
Straight
I got
That's
the
what's
letter.
up. That's what's
My
up.
second, yeah,
You
my
know what I
second
mean?
year, I got that letter.
Straight
I need to
up.
bring that up to my dad. I need to be, because I remember that day when he was like, he came, knocked on my bedroom door. It was like, I was like, at least I'm back in this, and I have the summer, I have no class. He was like, we ain't playing this. He's like,
What
look,
is this?
if you can't do college, then we got to do something different.
Straight
That
up.
day, I had to get a job. I got a job at the pizza shop. Like that day. Oh man. So like we all got the letter. All right.
All got it. All
Like,
got
that
it.
doesn't surprise. Like that system's not made for us,
No.
and we had to learn.
I do have to take some personal responsibility.
Yeah.
I did like partying and hanging out a lot.
Yes. Yes.
That was my shit.
It was freedom. Freedom. First time.
It was. It was. I had two great parents who didn't let me wild out really
That's
well.
right. That's right.
Middle school and high school, so I got to college and lost it. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
But after getting thrown out of UNC, came down to Metro.
Same here. Same
You know,
story.
and,
Same.
one of my brothers who went to Morehouse came back, and I was partying like a rock star at Metro too, because now I got the city. You know.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You actually have something that's not
You know,
not just the courthouse.
No.
Not just the courthouse agreement.
Gambler, you know what I'm saying? So I'm wilding out in the city, but then my brother comes back from Morehouse, like, yo, you got to read this book. I wasn't much for book reading at the time.
Yeah.
But he was like, yo, you got to read this. And he gave me the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Yes.
Read that and was like, oh man, I got to do better.
Transformational.
Yeah, absolutely transformational. Made me realize I was like not doing what I needed to do, not doing what I thought was manhood, but was just a little boy in a 21, 22-year-old body. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I knew I wouldn't be able to be a teacher without finishing school. And like I didn't have a desire really to do anything else. So I went from being like not interested in school to being like all the way in, you know what I mean? A complete 180, and just started consuming as much information as I could, like including like my undergrad in history, all that coursework, my secondary teaching licensure, all that coursework. But like Malcolm had me diving into my own Black history, something crazy, you know what I mean? Just everything. Asada's autobiography, Hughes, Bobby's, Andrews, James Baldwin, Tony Moore, like you name the hitters.
Just you keep going deeper. It's a spiral. You just keep going deeper, and you realize we have this collective knowledge that's so powerful.
Absolutely. Some WEB, some Carter G, some Stoke, like everything. I had to have it, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And, graduated, and I was working at Wheat Ridge high school at the time. Like when I graduated, I wasn't working there. I did my student teaching there because I had an amazing mentor there, Stephanie Rossi, who still to this day I think is the best high school teacher I've ever seen. Who I've stole all everything I do in the classroom I got from Stephanie Rossi. Finished with my undergrad. They told me, or one of the other ones, Miss Fure, another teacher who I actually student taught for, was like, I went right into my master's. I was like, well, I'm gonna go right into my master's then, shit, you know.
Yep.
So got a job there as a para, and while I was getting my master's degree in curriculum instruction from the University of Phoenix. And I think that time, that year and a half of being a para, is what actually made me a great teacher, a good teacher, a better than average teacher.
Yes.
Why do you say that?
What you mean?
I'm sorry, because you were just about to say, and I cut you off. I was going to say, what made you say that?
Say what?
That being a para during that time made you the best teacher?
Oh, I mean, it just taught me that students live on a intellectual spectrum. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like there was this idea, like your coursework in school doesn't teach you how diverse of learners and people that students are. You know what I mean? It makes it seem as if everybody has the same, you know what I mean, capability or same level of understanding or way to learn and understand. But being a para and working with students who just needed a little extra help to students who couldn't go to the bus by themselves because they'd get on the wrong bus, you know what I mean? But they're 17 years old, you know what I mean? Just taught me like, oh, you have to be ready for all of this, you know? So that coupled with the master's work, it really got my brain ready to dive into my first job, which was at MLK Early College, teaching social studies. It was a dream come true.
Yes. Yes.
It was an absolute dream come true. It was crazy. I got the phone call offering me the job on my birthday.
All right.
Yeah. So it was really dope working for like Alan Smith,
yes,
Nick Dawkins,
yes,
Tony Smith, Kim Grayson, with an incredible
dream team. That I wish I had leaders like that.
Yo,
I have no disrespect to my leaders that I've had, whatever, but I ain't had no leaders like that.
Dude, it was crazy. I got super lucky and really empowered in that space too. So like, I remember my first year teaching, I didn't want to teach the geography class the way that the content and curriculum had been set up.
Yep.
And my man Nick was like, well, then do what you feel like you got to do. I
Yep.
was like, oh yeah. He was like, yeah. So like I got my first taste of writing curriculum and building assessments literally my first year teaching. You know what I'm saying? And
that's dope.
Stop. Yeah.
Can we say like that is so powerful because it took a while before that was my experience of being on the right curriculum. I remember my first year, I held on to that anthology because I taught fifth and fourth grade. And I was just like so by the book and didn't even think about doing something different, right? Hadn't even questioned it, didn't even think about it. And I think that having the opportunity to teach the curriculum that I wrote on my own before I left teaching really changed a lot of things for me. And I'm so glad to have had that opportunity. But I can see that so many educators either they don't want to for fear of whatever, or they never get a chance to write their own curriculum and really see what they're made of and explore authors and explore texts that, you know, a lot of kids will have never been able to touch at that grade or in that type of coursework.
Man, and you know what's crazy too, Asia, is that it wasn't even my choice. Like the kids put it on me.
Yeah.
I mean, those freshmen, I went to teach a geography class and like they saw I was passing the textbook out for it. It was Geography Alive, which is a real trash textbook. Hopefully they're not a sponsor of the show.
No.
And they were like, what? We got to read this, man. We had this book in 7th grade. I was like, what you mean? It was like 7th grade is the first half of the book, and 9th grade is the second half.
How the kids even knew that. Yeah. That's so funny. The kids knew that.
And they were like, this shit is whack. I was like, all right, well, yeah, we're not going to do this then. You know what I'm saying? So it was really, it wasn't even nothing that was me. It was the kids, man. Those freshmen are some of the most beautiful, meaningful, brilliant, like life-changing human beings that I ever had the opportunity to meet. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for, because I was with them their freshman year through their graduation, and I feel like I graduated into being a teacher when they graduated. By the end of that 4th year, I was like, okay, I think I know how to do this thing.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just love those kids. Love them. Like some of them still just crazy close to, like they babysit my children. Like my son's birthday is on the 25th, and like they come back, they're gonna be here for his birthday. A good handful of them.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Got kids, they bring in their kids. So my kids is growing up with their kids. You know what I'm saying? Just like Just a really, 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 really special group.
I love that. I love that.
I
There's
left.
some, I
Go ahead.
think there's something important about your story. You know, first, like I think that para experience, and this is something more and more like every day, and I'm in year 17, but becomes more real and realer. That the kids have different ways of thinking, right? And my job, and I often ask this, and Gerardo, like my teachers who work with me always joke, you know, that I will say it. I don't even know what we're doing. I don't even know what education is. Like, I can't even tell you, like, what am I doing? What from day to day? I don't know what we're doing. I do not know, because at times there are lessons that are being learned, or and learning that happens that I'm just so like fascinated by. And it's because, like you said, the kids have different ways of demonstrating their knowledge and their understanding. So like right now, this year, I have a kid who will not write. He will always be like, read to me and write for me. And it's cool, but this kid has like the most amazing auditory memory. Like he is such a great talker. So like you go back to like the importance of like, and I think this goes to my second point about your story, is how Black history was a catalyst for you. Like, and it helped you see yourself as a scholar. It gave you the subject. And I think every kid, you know, for you, it was Black history, but every kid has a catalyst for something that potentially will help them see themselves as a scholar. And so I hope that people understand, you know, when we can allow kids to tap into what lets them see themselves as a scholar, what do they get obsessed with,
Right.
you know, and what can they talk about? And I know sometimes you're like, dang, this kid won't stop talking about anime, but let them. If they tell you every character. I got the greatest conversation because my kids are recommending anime, and they were debating about like, well, no, you don't let him watch that. That's not what you started with. Started with this. Get him into the. He told you he likes silly slapstick comedy, so he doesn't want the depressing romance stories, you know. But I think, but your story is really important. I think people need to understand that when we talk about, and I know this is the anti-exit interview part, how we get black teachers in the classroom, you know, or more teachers of color in the classroom. It's helping young people see themselves as scholars.
Yeah, and I mean, I was really lucky. I had great mentors who helped train me up. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have been able to write my own curriculum if I wouldn't have had a baller department chair who I would go to lunch with every day.
Yeah.
He would help me, you know what I'm saying, get my craft down and be like, yo, this is good, this is trash. Well, here, let's both build one and we'll teach this class. You know what I mean? And we brought ethnic studies to the school because me and her wanted to plan it out and do it. And me being able to watch her and how she had done it for so long and soak up that game from her, that was huge. And then having an administrator like Nick and like Tony and like Alan and then Miss Grace and Miss Scales, who just helped build me up. Brother Hall, who was my other AP, who was over our social studies, who really gave me autonomy. He was like, yo, do what you got to do, man. You know what I mean? When I became the department chair and a senior team lead at the school, he was very much like, yo, you seem like you got it. So just like, do it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not here to get away. If you need help, get some help. And my coach, Christian Moreland, who I think took my teaching to the next level. Like I left MLK after 5 years to go with Nick over to Manual.
Yes.
And with a few other of us. And when I got there, Christian Moreland was my coach. And she was like, you're pretty good. Like, you know, you do all the distinguished, whatever. She was like, but you could probably be better. And I was like, oh, okay, well, excuse me. You know what I'm saying? I thought I was doing it. And she was like, I mean, you are, but like, are you happy with where you're at? I'm like, nah. So she used to whip my butt, man. She used to kick my butt over my lesson plans, over my assessments. Like, this is, what are you actually assessing? How do you know? How are you going to measure it? And she was the one who like forced me to dig into my data better, forced me to really be intentional with the tasks that I was putting on my students, and just really, really, really made me take my craft to that next level. You know what I mean? So I got to big up those supports like that, and having the opportunity to have that autonomy. One of my professors once said, currency is performance is the currency of autonomy.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And he was like, so if you want to do what you want, you have to perform.
That's right. Yeah, you got to show and prove. You know
what I mean? So that was always my thing. Like, I wanted to do what I wanted. So I also wanted to make sure that I could show and prove, and make sure that what my kids were doing was worth me doing things differently. And lucky for me, you know what I mean? It paid off.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, I'm loving this story, and I'm just imagining what this environment was like for you, what it was like for your students, right? I've had some great coaches in my life. Shout out to Dr. Sandy Mason, who was amazing. She's still in Cherry Creek, I think. She's an avid coordinator out there, but it does say a lot for people to like believe in you and know that you can do more, right? And not just like sit back like, okay, good enough, good enough. Yeah, so tell us, keep going. You were at Manual. How long were you there? What was that experience like?
I mean, I was there for a while, but see, part of it, there's some other stuff. Like, while I was at MLK, I also got plugged with like the Gates Foundation and some other outside entities, like some big ed groups that also like opened me up to a completely different world of education. So I went to a teaching conference that was put on by the Gates Foundation, and met one of the presenters there, Sarah Brown Westling, who was a National Teacher of the Year. And she just happened to be sitting at the table that I was sitting at. And we're talking ed, boom, boom. I said something. I don't even remember necessarily what I said, just to say it, because, you know, I'm a pop shit if I got something to say. And then the conference was over. It was really dope to be able to see like a big organization put that on, and like to hear some dope speakers. Clint Smith was there, some other heavy hitters. And then Sarah Brown reached out and was like, yo, do you mind if I quote you in this thing that I'm doing? Because what you said was like really dope. I was like, really? She was like, yeah, like you said that like exactly how how it needed to be said. I want to quote you in saying it.
Yes.
Like, that made me like click something in my brain that never even crossed my mind. Like, this idea that other people would
hear what you have to say.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So then I was like, all right, well, if people are wondering, I started digging more into the Gates Foundation stuff, and eventually ended up being on like their teacher advisory council. And spent 2 years, I think it is, on their teacher advisory council, helping them as a giant organization start pushing through a lot of their different stuff. And when I started, their national convention, the ESET 2, probably had 40 breakout sessions, let's say, you know what I mean? Of those 40, 6, maybe not even 6, 4 of them had something to do with like being culturally responsive, data-driven instructor, DEI, or social and emotional stuff. By the time like me and that crew of teachers on that council got done, the last national convention we put on, nothing less than half was on like really actually serving the children. You know what I'm saying? Because we had to push the needle so much.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't all the same thing, but it was like all these different versions that were coming from teachers all over the country. Because us in that group, which was just some of the best educators I've ever met, some folks I have nothing but just love as human beings and love as educators for. We got to do that. So then when I did that, I was like, oh man, I started doing professional development. And from that, I started getting these consulting gigs and getting asked to come all over the country to like lead the PDs that I was leading for the Gates Foundation in this place and that place and this place and that place.
Nice. Wow.
It was
That's
dope.
awesome.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like got to be this like education mercenary that like you send a check, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna do the work. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right. That's right.
Um,
Education mercenary. Let's go. What's up?
you know what I mean? Just this ed for hire business. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? And I did that all the way until I was at Manual. Kept doing some different stuff with the Gates Foundation. Just crazy. It was crazy to just be in that type of space. And then left there. And while I was at Manual, I then got asked to be on the Teacher Advisory Council for National Geographic to kind of do the same thing.
Yes.
So then worked with Nat Geo for like 2 years in trying to push the envelope with them.
Yep.
The pandemic kind of shitted on it a little bit, but we still got some really good work done there. And also working with like these other organizations like the Center for Teaching Quality out of North Carolina, the Economic Ed Council that's out of New York or New Jersey. It just opened me to a whole different world outside of just like being a teacher. I knew when I wanted to be a teacher, I thought that was it. And then I found myself in like all these different spaces, doing the work. And then right before the pandemic in 2019, I started my own ed consultation business, Love First LLC.
Yes.
Consultation, and then started to get away from the ed for hire, the mercenary work, because I like the one shots were cool.
Yep.
But I wanted to be able to do like some sustainable work with different schools or organizations that we could like really start to build capacity in the spaces.
Yep.
And my whole thing with my business is like I want to work myself out of a job. You know what I mean? I want to be
This is not the work what you want to continue forever.
No.
You don't want to be Al Sharpton doing this.
No.
Contrary to what people think.
Yeah.
People do not. I guarantee you, brother, Reverend Al.
Kevin, with Al Sharpton.
I love that brother. I represent.
Leave Al alone.
I represent.
Bro. So can I just pause this for a second? Because it's like you just did you just rolled out a lot on us right quick, Dr. Anderson. And I want to back you up a little bit. I've had some teachers come to me, and I think I've talked about this a little bit before on the podcast, who want to shift out of the classroom to do other things, but they find that their resume only says third grade teacher for the last X amount of years. And so this is a typical question we ask, but it's coming to my mind. If I'm an educator who's been in, I don't know, teaching 7th grade math or teaching something for a long time and want to go get to these conferences or do some of these things you're talking about, what would you suggest folks to do? Especially because they're like, well, who's going to upset my classroom? My district won't pay for these things, but they really want to gain that experience and meet other folks and get out into space. What would you suggest?
To be willing to do more work, which is a big ask. Like it was a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like I was busy, man. Like busy. You know what I'm saying? And like that stuff would have me out of the classroom, not a lot, but enough. One, I had great administrators who were like, what? The Gates Foundation is calling, yes, go do that. Like, why am I going to get in your way of like something like that, right? It
looks good on the school website too. Yeah, always looks good on the school website. That's
and I did. Like I had them send out a whole camera crew and do a whole thing while I was at Manual from the Gates Foundation, and was like, "Yo, highlight these kids who are here so we can put these kids out too."
That's right. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I like doing stuff, but like, no, get these kids, let them shine. You know.
Yep.
And I also didn't take no for answer. So like, I think teachers, if you want to be more than an average teacher, you want to be good, you want to be great, it takes risks. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to take that risk. My risk was saying, like, if I had ever had an administrator say like, nah, you can't do that, I'd be like, all right, well, I'm gonna use my sick days. You don't get to tell me what I'm doing my sick days.
That's right.
So I'm gonna just leave anyway. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do what I have to do, what I think is best for me, my family, for moving the work that I want to do forward. But that's a risk that you have to take. You know what I'm saying? That you got to be willing to take. I had to be willing to like come back and administrators being like, yo, you know, say something. Lucky for me, I didn't. I have to deal with other teachers being like, oh, how come Anderson gets to be gone all the time? You're like, first of all, mind your own business. Second of all,
that's right.
Like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like my sub plans are tight.
Everything, my class works.
On. Well, they're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this, we're doing, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm dialed. Again, that performance was my currency for autonomy. Like, if I was a trash teacher, I'm sure they wouldn't let me do that. But because I was doing what I was supposed to do, they was like, yo, who are we to stand in your way? You know what I mean? So like, again, but I was very lucky in the sense that I had supportive administrators and that my fight was never there. You know what I mean? My partner probably took more of a hit than the administration did because I was gone all the time. You know what I mean? My now wife, you know, I was always working, you know, and the work was something that I really wanted to do and I really wanted to dedicate the time to, you know, so that's what it is. It's about, I'd say, you want to do something, find the conferences, go. Tell your teachers to let you go. Just go. Volunteer. When they said, like, when they end up on the teacher advisory council, you had to apply. I applied. You know what I'm saying? And then went through their little interviews and all their other stuff to be able to get on. I did it. When I got to go, I'm also on the leadership board of a national policy organization, EDLOC, which is Education Leaders of Color. And I ended up being able to go because the homie couldn't. And she was like, you want to go instead of me? And I was like, yeah, I got there. And it's like 600, 500 freaking all people of color freaking talking that ed talk. And I'm like, oh, I'm with this for sure. You know what I'm saying?
Take me with you next time.
You know,
that's what's up. We all need to go.
Like,
let's go.
I'm with this, you know? And so then I dedicated 4 years of my life to them cats until they asked me to be on their leadership board. Now I'm on the lead board, helping to kind of move the organization. And it's because I believe in it. It's because I don't mind digging and spending the time. You know what I mean? I like it. It's my shit, man. I love it. It's about having a passion for it.
I mean, so Asia, I just have to say this for all of us here, Asia, like, never have I heard a more like, because I love this brother. I like, we relate on like a million different levels. Like, from Greeley, from UNC to getting the letter, to ending up at Metro, to finding yourself, to finding some passion and educate, like, to going into Denver public schools. Like, the only difference, the happiest day I've ever had in my life was when Dory Clonch called me and said she was offering me a job at Maury Middle School. Happiest day of my damn life.
Talk about it.
You know, because I told my parents, I was like, hey, guess what? I got a job. They were like, oh, you did it. You did it. You know, but again, like, your story, I think, highlights that point of, like, it's easier than we think. It's easier. And I think it also highlights, be yourself in those spaces, take up those opportunities. Because sometimes I get these emails all the time, you know, they're like inviting you to do this, inviting you to do that, you know, and a lot of times we just have so much time. We don't have enough time. So we're like, nah, I'm not going to that space, you know? And like you said, you got to do more. You got to put yourself out there to make those connections, make the relationships. And then when you're in that space, be in honor of Black History Matter, Black Lives Matter at school week. I can talk. We're going to say, be unapologetically Black, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, go in there and be you and say what you're going to say and do and represent. And I think, you know, people will hear us. And I think we're in a lucky position where there's some people that are willing to listen right now.
No, that's a fact.
Okay, so you got all this going on.
Yep.
And it's still now, because you're talking present tense.
Some of it, yeah.
February 2022. Okay, keep going. So we're consulting, we're in conferences, we're on leadership boards, we're doing the thing. Now we have a almost 2-year-old or 2-year-old.
Got married.
Right. We got a partner. We're doing these things. Catch us up now. Go ahead, keep going.
So then I was at Manual. I had started my doctorate because I actually started doing this stuff to become an administrator. And probably 3/4 of the way through, and after passing the test, I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to be an administrator, like, at all. And my professor, one of the professors was like, yo, you should think about maybe doing a doctorate. And I was like, no, I'm straight. But then I'm in Edlock, and these is all these like brilliant Black folks, brown folks, and all of them are like doctor this, doctor that, doctor this, doctor. So I was like, man, let me go ahead and just do this thing. You know what I'm saying? They can't let them. They can't,
quick.
you know what I'm saying? Can't be the only non-doctor in the room. You know what I mean? So went back, started doing that. Got really lucky. Was able to do the program at UCD with Dr. Jefferson, Dr. Espinoza, Dr. Chaparro, Dr. Donovan. Such big ups to that program.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Especially Dr. Jefferson, just being an incredible mentor and coach and professor. And Dr. Chaparro literally changing my life by letting me know that I wasn't crazy because of the way I was thinking about Black talk. And she hit me to the BEV and like all the different stuff and what it was and how I wasn't this crazy person. And then Dr. Espinoza just being this like crazy philosopher who just got me living back in my brain and thinking differently. And Dr. Donovan, who forced me to take statistics seriously. And she held my hand through the process because it was such a struggle for a brother like me.
Damn, I love that. I love that one. Love that.
Finished as I was finishing that, it was really coming to the end of the year at Manual. And like we had just been through the pandemic and through all the crazy stuff. And another great mentor of mine who Dr. Maria Salazar, who's over at DU now.
Yes.
The esteemed Dr. Maria Salazar. We had been working together. We had started a freedom school and did some other stuff. And she was like, yo, this job opened up at DU to be the director of the teacher education program over there. You should apply for that. And I was like, are you serious? She was like, yeah, you
yes.
Really should. So I was finishing up my dissertation stuff and it was like, I should graduate right in the summer. She was like, the job post ends here. It like really aligned well, you know? And I was like, all right, tried out, applied, went through all that stuff. And I mean, I really did it not planning at all on getting this job. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, dude, I've never had any university experience. I taught, actually, that's not true. I had taught at Colorado College because I was an adjunct there and a supervisor for Colorado College for their ed students. But I was like, I don't know. And applied and like, strangely enough, got to the next phase of the interview.
Yes.
And then Lord willing, on my birthday again, they
once again.
And offer me the job.
How you do it? Like I told you, I'm trying to be like you, brother.
Hey, can we like pause? Because you said strangely enough, right? And like it's not strange. If you're thinking about like what you've been doing in the community, how you showed up for your students, how you just like the work, right? It's not that strange.
That's how it should happen.
It should happen that way, right? And like, I know maybe just being humble or whatever, but I'm just gonna give you your flowers and say, like, no, you busted your ass, you did what you had to do. You would, like you said, you were assassin or whatever you called yourself, mercenary.
Educational mercenary.
Educational mercenary.
That's the transition. You got to do dirt.
And so and all these things, and again, you're still doing those things. So I think it's really important for people to see, like, you know, Black and brown folks, Black folks, we put in the work, right? We put in the work, period.
And I'll tell the audience, one of the greatest, proudest moments I ever been was the day I logged into that professional development, Dr. Anderson. And they saw the keynote. I was like, wait a minute. Wait, Dr. Anderson's a king? Dr. William Anderson?
Get out of here.
My dog? I was like, because I don't keep up on social media and stuff. But when I saw you, I was like, yes. I was, you know, and when you said the head of the teaching, I was like, now we move it. Now, okay. This is what this is how change is supposed to feel, like is you see and it's like, all right, things are different. And I will always say, that I remember the day I saw you at a DPS. I remember I came over to you. I was like, what's up? What's up? I was like, oh my God.
Yo, we had been talking shit enough that they was like, well, you think it's so good, then you do it. Because we were going hard on the DPS social studies Tilde stuff.
We were. I know, but because hold on, there was that one day, the day it was like where it all flew up, where it's like everybody, every session like was derailed. It was like, nah, you're not gonna. What you're not gonna do. What you're not gonna do.
It was so bad. So then it was nice to be able to. It was a dream, man.
But that's the progress. That's what we're looking for. And like you said, someone's got to step up and do the work. And I think at times, like, and I think this is Asia's philosophy, is that there are other spaces where we can be way more impactful, where we can really, and I think like the longer we spend time thinking about this stuff, we see what the root cause of the issue is, right? The root cause of the issue is people don't see us as experts on what we talk about when it comes to our children's education.
That's right.
And until we, until like we're sitting in front of you in professional development, and that might not even, people only take it so far, right? But I think that's a big step in the right direction to, maybe helping people understand.
For sure. I mean, I can't underscore the amount of hard work. It was a lot of hard work.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So
it's your podcast, Asia.
It is, isn't it?
What do you mean? Can I say something, girl?
I don't know. I'm just thinking, and maybe you'll answer this question. Forgive me if I'm jumping ahead. And I just think about, you were saying you went through the process, you applied, and you just kind of like, just see whatever. When it seemed to be getting that you were going further along in the interview process for the position that you had now, was there this tug of war between not leaving the classroom and then moving forward in what you could do in this new space? And if it was like that, what was that conversation like in your own head or with your partner?
I mean, it was like, I love the kids. Like, I'd still be doing the job. I would have never left. You know what I'm saying? Like, I loved it. I loved it because I had the autonomy that I felt like I needed, which I know isn't afforded to a lot of folks. Yep. I loved it because it was in the hood. I was working on the east side and Denver, coming back to like the community that I've spent so much time in. Not as a resident, but as a frequent visitor. You know what I'm saying? It just had a special place in my heart. You know what I'm saying? So I had no plan on leaving. It was literally the opportunity to like run a entire teacher education program for a university, and for the university that has like some of, if not the second most like pre-service teachers in the district. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the student teachers who are in DPS now are from DU. You know what I mean? So like the opportunity to be able to impact the district, my city, my community on like that type of reach was tough. But I mean, it was hard because I didn't want to tell the kids because I love the kids. I didn't want to leave me. And like, it was terrifying. That was by far the hardest thing to do. And kids being the beautiful human beings that they are, when it came time for me to tell them, I was so scared. I thought they'd be like, "Oh, Anderson, you fake, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop."
Yeah.
And they were like, "What? You're leaving? That's that bullshit." Whoop-de-whoop, like pissed. Why? What are you doing? And I tell them like, I got this job at DU doing this. And they were like, oh, hell yeah, you gotta do that.
What's up? They were like, yeah, make moves.
You know what I mean? Like, hell yeah, congratulations. Like, yes, that's okay. As long
they were like, Mr. Anderson, you get paid? Are you getting paid? Because that's what they care about.
go do that, brother. Like, you know what I mean? So then it was like, it made me want to really do it well, because now these kids who, you know what I'm saying, I had so much love for, they were like, yo, you need to do this. You need to represent us, go and let them know, you know what I mean, what it is. And I was like, bet, okay, this feels like, you know what I mean, the right move to be making at this time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. We're going to take a break right here, and when we get back, we have a few more questions, but this has been an awesome interview.
Word.
Thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
No doubt. This is great.
Hello, listener. If you've made it this far into the episode, perhaps you are enjoying this remix conversation about power, culture, and education. And if that's the case, please consider joining others like you, educators, community leaders, activists, scholars, artists, and youth by supporting the Two Dope Teachers and a Mic podcasts and productions on Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you can get on-air shoutouts, sneak previews, and early released episodes, insider information on the happenings in Two Dope Nations, and many other small benefits. The greatest benefit, though, is you enable us to keep bringing the fire. Because of people like you, we have expanded to 2 podcasts, with the Exit interview taking flight and forcing hard conversations about attacks on Black educators. And we've added new features, including episode transcripts and a revamped website, all because of listeners like you. But that's just the beginning. Your support will open up new possibilities for us and for the communities we represent and advocate for. And at the $15 per month level, you receive a sticker. Yes, folks, a sticker. To support the podcast, head over to patreon.com/2dopeteachers. That's patreon.com/2dopeteachers.
All right, so we're back, and Dr. Anderson is like spitting some knowledge on us, telling us all the things, giving us some support. Those of us who are still in the classroom, we're thinking about not necessarily leaving, but just like expanding our resume, expanding our reach, thinking about like learning from new folks. And so now we're asking the question, what do you think? And being very clear, your classroom transition wasn't one of like running from the classroom, right? Or racial battle fatigue, which is often what we talk about on our podcast. But still, I want to ask the question, what do you think administrators, fellow educators can do to keep BIPOC teachers, I'll just say Black males specifically, in the classroom?
It's really about making room for them. And I mean that by like, make room for them to grow, give them the potential to do more than what it is that they're doing. Make room for coaching and support, you know what I'm saying? Help them get better at their craft. Like, I think in particular, Black males in the district get this treatment like, oh, you a Black male, you get it, do it. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
As if you don't need the help because something is like inborn with you. Hold on one second. You gotta go upstairs with your mom. Go see him.
Love it. Special guest.
Special guest, Malcolmcito Chico. They need room to grow, room to develop, room to take risk, to try new things.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that they can do the stuff that they actually like want to do and not feel like if they take a risk and it doesn't work out well, that like that means that's their job, like they won't ever be able to do it again, you know what I mean? And make room for them to be themselves. You know, like I was lucky. I got to be like, I could bring my whole self to work. You know, and I never important. I had to like be in a suit and tie and like do the whole like respectable Black man dance, you know. I could still like have my dreads. I could still, you know,
have,
like, sleeves out, you know what I'm saying? And like talk that talk and like be myself.
Be yourself.
You know what I'm saying? And not feel like I was going to get judged or that was going to be in the way of me moving, you know? But again, I think that comes with the performance piece. Like I was able to do the work, you know what I'm saying? And like, I'm trying to think. I was lucky too. I was never, I would tell administrators, like, I was never pitted against other colleagues.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was never like, I was never one to like fall into like kind of the toxic culture that can happen amongst teachers and administrators and all of that stuff. Like, I got really lucky in that sense. And I was also really intentional about that. You know what I mean? Like, if I had a teacher who was on my caseload who was struggling or
Yep.
who people didn't like or whatever, like, tell me what's wrong. You can keep your opinion, and I'm gonna work on these particular things to try to help this person grow. You know what I'm saying? It was never a personal thing, you know. I think that's helped sustain me. I think teachers, and this isn't just teachers of color, but like Black teachers or any teachers really. I really tried hard to keep it a buck and like not step on anybody's toes, not be disrespectful to anybody, not get into that toxic gossip.
Yep.
People, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I would hope that if you went back and talked to the people that I worked with and worked for, that they would be like, yo, he was a stand-up dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, he always treated everybody with love and respect, you know? So it gave, like, you couldn't help but to treat me with love and respect. You know what I'm saying? Because you would look crazy talking crazy about me, because it'd be like, yo, what did he ever do to you? You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
That it would be that you need to treat this person like this. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, creating that type of atmosphere, that happened because of like some of the leaders I had in the building, you know, in particular at MLK, like those building leaders were great for me. You know, I'm sure some people might feel differently, but for me, you know what I'm saying? They gave me that space that I talked about, that I needed to be able to thrive and not just, you know what I mean, make it till Friday. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah. We're just like, oh, we can talk about that later. That make it till Friday, make it to vacation, make it to
Yeah.
And that
MLK
comes up
Day.
every episode, I feel like.
Yeah.
Make it to mentality.
Yeah. So last question, our newest question. What's bringing you joy these days?
So much, man.
There we go.
My son, for sure, that dude's off the charts. My wife, for sure, she is just a wonderful support. Fam, the work is great. Like, I just went, I was at the Nuggets game on, what's this, today's Sunday, it must have been Friday night. And the homie who I used to work with at Manual called me and said the most absurd thing I've ever heard. He was like, yo, you want to go to the Nuggets game? I was like, oh yeah. He's like, I got courtside tickets and nobody want to go.
Let's go.
I was like, my G, let me call my wife and make sure it's cool. So
yes. Oh, always anything that I get asked to do, you got to check with the boss.
I gotta check.
The boss is if the boss agrees, then I can do something.
Yo, called her. She was like, fine. You know what I'm saying? I went to that game, but I say all that to say, like, went to the game. The seats are freaking amazing. Good.
Yes.
Food, you know what I'm saying? All sorts of all of that. But I came home and I was just like, man, I really just love my life so much, man. Like, I got this house over my head. I got clothes back, healthy kid, healthy wife.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, all the things.
Speak on it.
Like, the work that we did was not for a reason. Get out of here with your baby shark, dude. So what brings me joy? All of it. And like, I guess the work too. Like, the thing that I would say, hold on one second. The one thing I'll say about this university work, the speed of it is so much different than working in a K through 12, like a public school. You know what I mean? Like, I think about what my day was at Manual, at MLK.
Yeah.
You're at work from potentially as early as 6 to as late as 9 o'clock sometimes. You know
yes, sir. Talk about it.
Your average day, we could just say from 7 to 5. You know what I'm saying? And And that whole time from 7 to 5 is like, you're rocking, you're doing something. You're either teaching, you're either collaborating and planning, grading, eating, dealing with children. You know what I'm saying? And like, you love it. It's fun. It's great. It's a completely different energy. You know what I mean? I think about this job I have now. I teach on Mondays, like from 9 to 3:30.
Once a week.
Once a week. And then like the rest of the week, it's not like I'm chilling with
No.
nothing.
Oh, wait, no. Yeah, wait, hold on. I thought you was playing Madden, NBA 2K.
No, my days are full with other things to do, but like so much more. I have so much more control over my time.
Well, it's a thought job, you know. Like that's what I think about teaching, that like you never get. So much of the job is wrapped up in thinking, like processing, planning, absorbing, finding resources, like what, and thinking about, like, I could spend like the biggest part of planning is like, and I love what you say about curriculum, you know, like design, but that part is a big thing, right? When you engage in it, because you start to look for stuff in the age of the internet, not everything is gold. There's a lot of trash. You are literally, it's like being a DJ. You dig it through the crate to find the perfect sample, right?
So many records you gotta go.
So many records, and a lot of them records are garbage, and sometimes even the garbage records got something to offer, right? You know, but you're like, I gotta find that little piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, peep this. So I'll tell you again, that's the difference. It's like when I'm thinking about my lesson planning and like course building and stuff now, like I have a grad assistant, I have a teacher assistant. Like these are people who could like help you do the work that you're supposed to be doing, you know, like these partners who their sole job is to like help you to be able to do the main thing it is that you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? So like I think about sitting down with my grad assistant for lunch, and shout out to my grad assistant, Anna Handy, who's the freaking bee's knees, legs, and its arms. I would not be able to do this work as well as I could without her. I can just talk about, hey, for this next quarter, this is what I'm thinking for the quarter.
Yep.
I'm thinking this, maybe some of this, maybe some of that, maybe some of this. And she takes it all down. And I'm like, hey, can you find a resource for this? Can you find a resource for that? And then 2 days later, she's like, yo, here's a list of resources. Here's a this, here's a that. And I'm like, okay, put this together. And, you know, and it's the process is so different.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all of that, the support is so different. You know what I mean? Like the dean who's like, yo, make sure you're carving out 4 hours a week just for writing. Like block it off on your schedule. Like don't let nobody bother you. Like spend 4 hours a week, pick one day, and you have a 4-hour block that's sacred, and that you're like, you don't do nothing but write or think about the things that you want to write about or read or like do this. And like it's so different in like a K-12 job where like you imagine going to your AP and being like, yo, I need 4 hours to think.
To just think. And we talk about uninterrupted planning time.
You
but like I have kids that have just come into my room that, you know, like kids that just be like, what's up, mister?
Say something, you know what I'm saying?
You know, and I'll never send them away. If they come to me in the middle, now I don't let them just hang out. To all my colleagues who listen, I ain't letting them just hang out. I'm letting them collect their thoughts, get ready, because they got to wonder sometimes. Sometimes you got to wonder. You got to be like, what's Mr. Adams doing right now?
You know how many warm lunches I had go cold because I eat them because I'm talking to kids? You know what I'm saying? And like now just the speed is so different. And it just brings me a different joy as I start to think about like what I can do in this space.
Yes.
Like what kind of impact can it have on like this broader scale?
And like you said, the people you are educating are going to be teaching your kids.
Yes.
And so like it's the bigger picture. It's like, yeah, that was the hard part. And the kids were willing to support you moving on to because the kids always support us. They love us if we're moving and making moves for ourselves. But because they know how they are the experts. You interview kids about how hard it is to be a teacher, they'll tell you. They will tell you. But I think like it's so important because, and I think this goes back to Asia's big point. Sometimes we worry that we're leaving people behind and not, but sometimes the work that we're doing is even bigger, right? And so that's why I call Asia, she's my Harriet Tubman 2.0 because like, yeah, you're not going to be able to take care of the people who we leave on the plantation. But what we're going to do is we're going to encourage other people to come back and liberate more people. And we're going to end, like you said, Dr. Anderson, we're going to end our jobs. That's the goal. That's the goal of the work. Yeah. We ain't doing this forever.
Very much so.
We can't.
We can't. The one thing I'll say, finally, it would be like, the one thing I do miss those is the connection to kids.
Yes.
Being able to have that direct impact on young people, and getting so much time with them, like 4 years with a kid is a long time. Being able to see them freshmen to their like senior year, and then being able to like see them launch off like that. There's something special in that. It's also really makes the job really hard too, because you love those people, and when things happen to them, it's sad too. Like I present any of this info in the loving memory of a student of mine who just passed, Clarissa Riviera, who was just my heart and soul. And I'm almost glad I have the job that I have now, so I don't have to feel this heartbreak.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I hope I don't have to deal with like that type of pain that comes with spending so much time with a person, and they grow up and you grow with them, and then something can happen to them
in an instant.
And then in an instant, you know what I'm saying? So like I get this time with my TEP students, I'll be with them for a year, and I'll love and I'll appreciate them, and I hope we make great memories, and I know them for a long time, but
it's not the same. It's not watching someone grow from a child to an adult to watch, like, and you just get to know them, and like I'm fortunate enough to work in a 6 to 12, and from being at DMLK that what that experience is like to watch someone go from being 11 years old to being 18 years old.
You know what I mean?
And what it changes your perspective, because like we said, and I believe this in my heart, I tell my students, who I am today is not who I'm going to be tomorrow. Right. And we all grow through it, from the 2.7 club to the letter club to the, I got to go to Metro, but I found myself, because that's where I probably should have been in the first place, club. I think that's how we have to see every single one of our, and even the students, some of our students too. I've had this experience too. Students who shine, who are golden, right? Who have everything. And it just never happened. That's right. That's right. I've had that too. We don't talk about them enough too.
We don't. Yeah. We don't. But those things bring me joy. I'm slap happy, man. I couldn't be happier. It's an honor and a privilege to be on y'all's show. You know what I mean? To be able to share my thoughts for whatever they're worth. You know what I'm saying? I love and appreciate y'all too, man. I've known all y'all for a while. I've really known Munoz and KA for a minute. Asia, I've known you for a minute now too.
I know, it's
almost 4 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute. You know what I mean? So I love y'all to life, man, and I appreciate the work that you're doing. And I'm here of service. If you ever need anything, please know that I'm an email or text message away. Munoz knows better than most. I can be a bad texter.
Yes, you are, because
I'm bad too. I think there's something about us. Like me and you are very we are very similar. Like I'm telling you, like I can be a bad. Munoz gives me a hard time. I get better. Asian and Gerardo, am I better today? than I was in the past?
You are better today.
Oh,
You are
Gerardo
better,
says
but
no.
William needs to check his phone. William needs to check his phone because he has a text I sent him like 4 months ago. He was like, "How's it going?" I'm like, "Great. How are you?" Nothing. I was like, "Oh,
That's terrible.
like all right."
Yo, I
Okay.
promise I was working or something. And it's
That's
I want you
cool.
to know I've done it to my own mother. So
I do it bad.
it's not personal. You know what I'm saying? My
Oh, I
mom
get
has
it.
called me and been like, yo, I thought she was talking to me. I need to call you. Like, yo, my fault. I was doing this, that, and the third, mama, my fault. You know,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Personal, you know what I mean? I swear, you just gotta text me again and be like, hey, you know what I mean? Call me out my name a little bit, and I'll be like, oh. Yeah, that's right.
I'll respond to you.
You right. You right. You know what I'm saying? So, but thank y'all, man. Let me get up here to this child, to this wife.
Yes. Go get the young into bed.
I appreciate y'all, man, and please keep doing the work.
Yes, we
All right,
appreciate
have
you.
a good night. Peace out.